Friday Greystone Carving Studio live Instagram feed that will eventually end up on YouTube thingy. For those of you who don't know, my name's Henry, and I'm what am I? I run Greystone Carving Studio, and I teach. I do some teaching here. And what I wanted to show you, so we've done quite a few of these, and they've been kind of a lot of hodgepodge, mix and match, lots of different kind of things. So what I thought I'd do today, it will be going over some old ground, but what I wanted to do is show you some kit, so show you some tools. So just this is completely just dedicated to stone carving and masonry tools. So first of all, I'll show you the kit that I'm using at the moment. So this is what I'm using. So tools are very much, different tools for different jobs, obviously, and different materials, and different textures and different techniques. So I'll just show you the tools that I'm using right now because of what I'm working on, which is this. This is an alabaster Buddha, and I'm just busy blocking it out. And this is the Buddha that it's a copy of, but in alabaster. And these are the tools I'm using. So first of all, I want to show you the non-business end of the tools. So this end of the tool, the back of the tools, not the cutting end of the tools, but the back of the tools. And we have 4 different ends. So this is this is not something I use normally, except on a very, very soft material. This is a wood chisel, and obviously a wood chisel has got a wooden handle. There's a number of those I've got knocking about that I use on soft material. Barstone masons, they use wood chisels or chisels that have the same steel as wood, and this has got a wooden end. This is a mallet headed, so that's to use a mallet with. And this is a hammer headed, and that's used to use with a hammer or a dummy. That's a dummy. And this is a pneumatic ended chisel. So instead of using a mallet or a hammer, you slot in a slug. I'm knocking it up. Yeah. Here's the one I've been using. And that runs off kind of compressed air. It's I think most commercial firms stop using them now because of vibration damage. So I wouldn't give this to anybody I employed to use, and I probably shouldn't use it. But it's the tool that I used mostly when I was doing masonry. So in the years that I did masonry, you use this bit of kit mostly. This is a Bonaccord, and it's a small one, so it's for carving, and that's how it works. This is a slug inside, and it vibrates, and that's this end. So far so good? Okay. Right, so the other end, we have 2 metals that we use. One is the tungsten tipped chisel. So it's tungsten is brazed into tool steel, and a piece of tungsten is let in, and that is, I think you can see closely, you can actually see the brazing line. See the line, the brass line, the brassy line. Can you see that? You see the brazing line. So this is a fishtail. This is a nice chisel with a square shank, which is unusual. This was made by John Parsons, who I buy a lot of tools from. Really like his kit. It's good quality. It's a reasonable price. He hasn't paid me to say that. I like his kit. And and this is a fishtail tungsten chisel. A fishtail is the shape, And then you have a carbon steel that's not tungsten tipped. So you just normal tool steel. Look, here's some more. Here's some more pneumatic headed chisels. So I was using them for making a little bird bath. So you could get these. So that's that end, and that is to do with what you're hitting it with, and that's really important. And actually, the hitting part of it is probably as difficult, if not more difficult, than controlling the chisel, the cut. You know, there's a lot to do with controlling the cut. So you have the types. Now you have different shapes of chisel and different sizes of chisel. So all these are masonry chisels. They're big quality, big lumpy quality there for making architectural carving, so mouldings, flat surfaces. Masonry is all about flat surfaces. Even curves are about flat surfaces. So I did my improving at Salisbury Cathedral, and we did a lot of Gothic mouldings, and that's all nutty, kind of like wiggly woggly, kind of lots of internal kind of real kind of scallopy internal curves that we had to do. And we used these. We rarely use gouges because we needed tungsten, and so this is a bull nose. This is called a bull nose. It's not it does a similar job to a gouge, and it makes these internal curves. And as you can see, they come in different sizes, different sizes, and you can also change the curve. So you get it on a grinder, and if you want a flatter curve, you kind of flatten it out. But basically, if you're doing a similar style, you keep these particular curves. So this is a claw. You see the kind of, there's various types of claws, and then this is a flat chisel. This is actually a lettering chisel. So let's get it short. Letter cutting chisel. It's a flat chisel. It's 10 millimeter flat chisel, or something like that. Again, tungsten tipped. And this is a carving chisel. So it's a fishtail. That's fishtail. So it's this kind of fishtail, and that is a really useful bit of kit for. Sometimes what happens is if you've got a real feather edge, or you've got a sharp arris, and you're trying to carve alongside it and round a curve, this shoulder can destroy it as you curve round. And with a fishtail, you have this scoopiness, so that you don't destroy these. You can get it into finer gaps. So there's those. That's the kit I'm using at the moment to do that. Obviously, I wasn't using this masonry stuff, but I have been using this to do with the. So let's go this way. So I spent a bit this morning talking to my mate Jill on the phone, at the same time sorting my chisels out. So Jill doesn't, she won't see it. Lovely lady. She, her and her husband used to run a hardware store a hardware shop in Salisbury for years and years and years. T Tools, which is now sadly gone, and Hugh, her husband, is sadly dead now. Anyway, that's by the by. So I spent a lot of time sorting this out, and as you can see, let me run through it, and maybe I will. So I'll just go through it. Fishtail, hammer-headed, mallet-headed, fishtail, mallet-headed, tungsten-tipped chisel. Very good for kind of carving big shapes. This is a lettering chisel, so 10mm tungsten-tipped lettering chisel. Really nice for inch-high letters, something like that, because the thick, you tend to get a chisel the same width as the thick. Here is a mallet-headed short chisel, which is a kind of, I kind of quite like using that for carving. And here is another lettering chisel, and this is kind of had its shoulder. It's kind of got a shoulder on it, so it's not. You've got some of them come up like that. I'll give you an example of that. But as I said, these are John's, and they he's putting these shoulders in at the moment, which are quite which is very nice. And this is a fine lettering chisel, obviously hammer-headed, or it's called hammer-headed, but you can use a dummy with it. And this is a half-inch bullnose, mallet-headed, for masonry and for carving. And this is a carving chisel. This is it's a really nice mallet head design, old mallet-headed. That's an old shape for a mallet-headed chisel. And this is a little bullnose, which is delightful for carving. A bigger 12mm carving chisel, hammer-headed, tungsten-tipped, and it is square-shanked, which a lot of people don't like, but I quite enjoy using these for some reason. And here is now this is interesting because this is a different grade of tungsten. So all this tungsten is designed for limestones, and this tungsten is a softer tungsten, less brittle, but not as sharp as the harder tungsten, which is for granite and marble. So this is a harder tungsten, granite and marble. One of my students is carving a marble lady, and she uses that quite a lot. There's another lettering chisel, another fine lettering chisel there. So that's what I meant about the difference between the shoulders. There's one with shoulders and one without. Can you see that? Yeah, one with shoulders, one without. Right, so they can go together. And here is a hammer-headed fishtail, tungsten tipped. More lettering chisels, carving chisel. But you could use that for lettering, for fine lettering. Another one of those. That's the same as that. That's another one of those. And these are all pretty much of a muchness. That's a nice little fishtail. Very handsome, very useful. And that is one of my favourite lettering chisels. It's quite old. The reason some of them are pink, and I think I might need to respray them, the reason they're pink is so they don't get mixed up with my students' chisels. Who wants a pink chisel? And there's the third one in that series. I bought those three. Hang on, where is it? I was looking at it. It's gone. Anyway, somewhere there. So that's another little bullnose mallet-headed fish. So let's go. I don't think there's much. We come to here. It's quite a nice chisel. I use that for carving and for lettering. And then there is a claw, tungsten tip claw. So the interesting thing about tungsten is that it remains sharp for longer than a carbon steel chisel. However, tungsten's a bigger molecule, so it isn't as sharp. So a carbon steel molecule you can get much sharper. So for a softer stone, and for alabaster in particular, carbon you don't bruise the material, so it's a finer cut. So especially if you want that opacity, that translucency, you don't want the crystals to be crushed, you want them to be cut cleanly. So the fishtail. Right, now we have something different. This is a gouge. It's a mallet-headed carbon steel gouge. Now this is I haven't used this really. I think some of my students have used it. I haven't used this, but I would also see it's flat across the end. When I come to use it, I will bullnose it, so I will make it that shape as well. Not quite as brutal as that, but I will make that shape as well. So I will bullnose. I tend to bullnose my my gouges. That's a nice gouge, and I would have tungsten tip gouges. Only they are extraordinarily expensive, and I can't afford them. They just and you just drop them once and they smash to bits. So they're really rubbish. There's a bullnose, 1/4 inch bullnose pneumatic chisel, which is good for roughing out and good for really fine internal curves. Another gouge. So these are a bunch of gouges. This is a long chisel to get into kind of odd gaps that I bought specifically for a job. So I wanted to carve, and I couldn't get in with a normal chisel without losing my knuckles. Well, without, and this means that I could lose fewer knuckles. But you have less control over the chisel. More bull noses, a pile of bull noses. So we got, I think, anything new. That's a cold chisel. This is a tungsten tipped point, which is granite, for granite and marble. So it's a soft tungsten. So you are picking away at, I can show you how I use that. Let me I'll grab a hammer, if I have a hammer. There's a cranky old carving. So this is for kind of removing large amounts. Can you see me? Mm-hmm. Shall I come this way? So that kind of removing large amounts of shit, stone. Not stone. Not so keen on this. Yeah, so I would be with the marble, and with the marble it would be a slightly different technique. So this is a limestone. This is a bit of marble, which is a kind of tough local limestone. This is a machine that's better. And this bit of kit. So this is a point. So that wasn't really suitable, and I didn't like the hammer. So that wasn't suitable for this piece of stone, but it really is spot on for that bit of marble over there, because it's a much harder material and you're kind of using a slightly different technique. You're picking away. So punching, point with a point, it's a shocking technique. So you're sending a blow into the material. And you have control, and you can still kind of make a reasonable kind of guess at where your material is going to go. So, but it's a blast. It's a shock. It's sending a blow into the material, and you're not cutting it. So that's one kind of technique, and then. Let's do this. What you've got here is a cut. So this is another kind of quite a roughing out tool, but this is a cut. As you can see, I've cut the material. So you get a surface. You're after a surface, and with masonry, you're after a flat surface. So you're kind of after creating a draft. I suppose I could show you a draft on here. It's quick. I can do it with this. It's not. I'm going to try that. Yeah, I'll try this. So if you want to So there's you're trying to get a straight. I mean, I've gone just above that line because I'm not sure that I really want to cut very much off it. But I mean, you kind of try and get that's your draft, your flat surface that you can then work all the way around, and then you can work between different drafts and make a flat surface. Okay, and I think the only chisels that I haven't shown you are claws. Have I missed anything? Oh, a punch. This is a punch, which is like a wide-ended point, and there are various. You can see that wide-ended point, and you can get bigger, smaller punches. On Portland, they use. I don't know if I have one handy. I'm sure there is one buried in here somewhere. A big Portland point, which are lovely bits of kit there. But that's a punch, rather a Portland punch. That's a punch because it's still a cutting tool, So the difference between a punch and a point is they're both carbon steel. They're not tungsten. You can get tungsten tip points though, for granites and marbles, but they've got a wider end. And they're roughing out tools, but they're great. You can draw with a point really nicely. And then lastly, we've got claws. Got a pile of claws, loads of claws, carving claw. There's a tungsten tip claw. I'm rarely used. I don't like it. And then there's various hammer-headed. There's a little fish. This is called a deer's foot. Little two-pronged claw, lovely for carving, fantastic. And these are all carving claws. There's a three-pronged, fish-tailed carbon. No, it's not. It's fire. We call carbon steel fire sharps because they're tempered in the fire. And here's a whole bunch more of these little carving chisels that I bought. And the students don't like them. I don't know why, but they're lovely tools. They're delightful, and they're really nice. But people go for the other end. They go for the tungsten tip stuff really quickly, possibly because it doesn't have to be sharp and so on. And the only thing I haven't shown you is pictures. Maybe I can show you a picture another time. Leave you in suspense. I didn't show you pictures. Thank you very much for watching, and have a delightful week, and I will see if I can think up something sensible for next week. Check the website out for classes, which are all starting in September. We've got a COVID-19 policy in place in which if we have to lock down, which we would, then we rejig all the classes so nobody loses classes. So if anybody's concerned about that, what we'll do is we shut everything down for 2 weeks, and then we rejig onto another day. If there are classes on a Monday, we rejig, so nobody loses anything, and that remains in place until the end of this year, and then we'll do another review on how we're going to do. And there's obviously the usual stuff about masks and lots of gel and all that stuff, so everybody's kind of safe, and lots of space in here so everybody can remain miles apart. So thank you, may the force be with you and all that. Cheers, bye.